What are the common like challenges that you run into on the nutrition side specific to the whole?
Yeah. So there's common knowledge gaps, right? And misconceptions. And then there's application friction points. So the knowledge gaps, and we can dive into this maybe after this whole point is covered, but knowledge gaps are typically carbohydrates, their role in performance, how much to be consuming, so on and so forth. And then anything past macronutrients. So a lot of guys and gals that we have coming in are what I consider to be very overly macrocentric. Okay. So maybe they're coming from a place traditionally of where physique was more important than performance. You know, like any 18-year-old kid or athlete, they want to look good. They want to look like, you know, Hugh Jackman and Wolverine. So they're eating chicken breast and white rice and maybe some broccoli. And they're doing that 3 times a day, 7 days a week, right? To get that physique. And that's easy because you can measure it and track it. And it's super simple. And it gives you numbers, so you know how to stay on track. But how many micronutrients are you getting? Are you getting enough zinc, magnesium, calcium, phosphorus? Are you getting enough electrolytes, right? And that's the micronutrients. That would be a more microcentric, nutrient-dense food approach to nutrition. And that's typically where the knowledge gap exists. And then, of course, there's knowledge gaps in supplement use and hydration and even nutrient timing, even though that's focus mostly on macronutrients, when to properly eat, what type of macronutrient to eat, why and when. That is a knowledge gap. But more so, the friction points that I deal with clients are, how do I take the information once you give it to me and actually apply it to my life? So I'd say the biggest one is always going to be time and planning. Yep. Because we're all busy people, especially in today's world. Everyone's got a side hustle, working 2 jobs. Their spouse might be working, right? It's just like there's never enough time in a day to do all the things that we want to do, right? Especially with social media in the mix, where it's like, oh man, like I should be training harder, or I should be shooting more, or I need to do jujitsu, but I also need to do Muay Thai. And then, oh man, I got to go on a mountain climbing trip too. And I should be back country hunting so I can provide my family with the best meat. And then after that, you know, it's like,
I want to go surf.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And we're all in the same boat, essentially, where it's, you know, you want to do all these things because, again, we're all driven individuals that want to be the best versions of ourselves. And now we are just slammed with a fire hose of information on how to be even better, a better version of yourself.
And we suck if we're not doing. Yeah, we suck if we're not doing it. What, you mean you're not cold plunging every day, you know, or you're not, you know, you're not journaling every day?
Your routine's not 6 hours long. Yeah. So and that's the reality, right? Is like a lot of performance nutrition is given to athletes, college athletes, professional athletes, and their situation is typically a lot different than a tactical athlete that is working crazy hours in austere conditions, very unique conditions. And that all has to be taken into consideration. But for everybody, right? Operator, law enforcement officer, firefighter, dad, time becomes an issue. When are we going to have time to do all the things we need to do nutritionally to stay on track? So military personnel that are reliant on the military for their food, so whether they're deployed out in the field and they're relying on MREs or UGREs or the chow that's provided on a ship, or you're a law enforcement officer, you know, operating out of a cooler, or a firefighter on call for like 6 hours, right? There's no refrigerator on the truck. All of those things need to be taken into unique consideration, and then a plan around each of those circumstances needs to be developed. Now, the framework is different, the framework is pretty much the same for everybody, but the nuances of that framework then become what's individualized to that person. So we can take the same broad conventional wisdom, to put it in your words, enter it into this pretty generic framework of planning. And I mean, it's no secret, being a Marine, I use OSMEAC, right? 5-paragraph order, like mission writing process, because it really helps you think about your nutrition long-term. Then we can start talking about what's unique to your job specifically that might be different than, you know, a stay-at-home dad or somebody working in a corporate setting, so on and so forth. And that's where the magic happens. And So to go back to the planning process, if you can just think ahead, even a single day, right? What's my tomorrow going to look like? And how can my nutrition look tomorrow based on what I have planned? If you could just do that, just one day ahead, the impact it will have will be profound. But most people don't think about their nutrition one day ahead, right? They think about their nutrition when they're hungry. It's like, oh man, like I've been so busy doing all of these things, I forgot to eat. Or, well, I prioritized all of this and not my nutrition. So now I have to rely on whatever fast food restaurant is in my local area. I'm on patrol. It's midnight. No healthy restaurants are open. What's open? I've got a 7-Eleven, I've got a McDonald's. And like, how can I now, I didn't plan. How can I now at least mitigate damage at a convenience store or a fast food restaurant? And that's where the basics of nutrition come into play. So again, same framework, same principles, different application.